This episode discusses the deaths of 11 members of the Rupert family in Hamilton, Ohio on March 30th, 1975. The story involves a real mass killing, including the deaths of children. And while no graphic details are included, the subject matter may still be distressing all the same to some listeners. This episode is intended for education, remembrance, and historical understanding. It does not aim to sensationalize tragedy in any way, shape, or form. Easter Sunday is usually a day of pastel chaos. Kids running around with baskets, adults juggling casseroles, and someone always forgetting the rolls in the oven. But in 1975, inside a modest home on Minor Avenue in Hamilton, Ohio, an ordinary family gathering became one of the darkest days in the state's history. Tonight, we're not here to focus on the horror. We're here to remember 11 lives, parents, children, siblings, whose stories deserve to be told with care. Welcome back. This is Caffeine, Chaos, and Cuss Words. I'm Sharon, your host with the most. Let's begin. Hamilton was a working-class city where families stayed for generations. On Easter Sunday, March 30th, 1975, 41-year-old James Urban Rupert fatally shot 11 members of his family inside his mother's home at 635 Minor Avenue. It remains one of the deadliest mass killings in Ohio's history. Understanding the community helps us to understand the weight of what was lost. These were people who lived, worked, and raised children in a neighborhood where everyone knew each other. Before discussing the events, it's important to center the victims. These were the 11 family members killed that day. Charity Billy Rupert, age 65. Leonard Rupert Jr., 42. Alma Rupert, 38. Leonard Rupert III, 17. Michael Rupert, 16. Thomas Rupert, 15. Carol Rupert, 13. Ann Rupert, 12. David Rupert, 11. Teresa Rupert, 9. And John Rupert, 4. These were people with routines, dreams, and futures. They were celebrating a holiday together. Nothing more complicated than that. Their names deserve to be spoken, remembered, and honored. James Urban Rupert grew up in a household marked by emotional distance and conflict. His father died when he was just 12, and his older brother, Leonard Jr., became the dominant figure in the home. By adulthood, James was described as quiet, bookish, and isolated. He had dropped out of college, trained as a draftsman, and by 1975 was unemployed, unmarried, and living with his mother. Context is not justification, but it helps us understand the long-term tension that shaped this tragedy. That morning, Leonard Jr. and Alma brought their 8 children to Charity's home for Easter activities. James stayed upstairs for much of the morning, reportedly sleeping off a night of drinking. Around 4 p.m., he came downstairs armed with a .357 Magnum, 2 .22 caliber handguns, and a rifle. Motive is unknown. However, it is speculated that greed may have been at hand. It had been said that Leonard Jr. and Charity Billy Rupert were worth an estimated $300,000, which would have been $1.81 million in today's money. Within minutes, 11 family members were dead. The victims ranged in age from 4 to 65, spanning 3 generations. The massacre was over in less than 2 minutes, according to later reporting. The focus here is not on the act itself, but on the sudden and devastating loss of an entire branch of a family. James remained in the house for hours. Eventually, he called police and said that there had been a shooting. He was arrested without incident. Investigators later documented the scene and the weapons used. A prosecutor's diary from the case would later offer insight into the investigation and the emotional toll on those involved. James Rupert was charged with 11 counts of aggravated murder. His first trial resulted in 11 consecutive life sentences, but the verdict was overturned on appeal. A retrial produced a split verdict, guilty on 2 counts, not guilty by reason of insanity on 9 counts. He received 2 consecutive life sentences and remained incarcerated until his death in 2022 at age 88. The split verdict reflected the jury's struggle to balance psychiatric testimony with the enormity of the crime. The house at 635 Minor Avenue became a painful landmark for those living in Hamilton. Neighbors remembered the children riding bikes, playing in the yard, and filling the home with noise and energy. Teachers remembered their curiosity. Family friends remembered birthdays, holidays, and the everyday chaos of a large family. The tragedy left a permanent scar on the community, but the memory of the victims, their personalities, their relationships, their lives, remains stronger than the violence that ended them. Tonight, we held a space for a family whose story is often overshadowed by the horror of how they died. But their lives mattered, their names mattered, their memories matter. Thank you for spending this time with me remembering them. This episode is sponsored by Dubby Energy, fueling my chaos 1 cup at a time. Visit dubby.gg and use my code CaffeineCrew for 10% off your order. This episode was written, narrated, and produced by yours truly. And don't forget to visit our social media pages for case material extras. You can find our show links at linktree/chaos crewpod. That's linktr.ee/chaos crewpod. And until next time, stay caffeinated and stay chaotic. And this has been a Busy House production.